I'm awake.
Oh, it's a new era, my friends.
Do that.
Madam Clerk, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Terrence Kelly.
Here.
Peter Nolan.
Here.
David Nesbitt. And I understand he'll be late. Ted Carlson.
Here.
Keith Silver.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Approval of the agenda. I'm going to make a motion that we move our discussion of the annual report to after our discussion of new business, so David can participate in that discussion. Does that sound good to everyone?
I second that.
Actually, so moved. You second. He's cherry.
You asked me for, yes, you're right. I second.
I'm so moved.
All right.
Yeah.
Hearing no objections, we'll move annual report to after new business, or the after new business. Any other additions or amendments to the agenda? All right, you have a motion to approve the agenda as amended? So moved?
That's true.
Second.
Second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
I thought we already did that.
Please take a look at the, no, because first we approve the editing of the agenda, and then we approve the agenda.
Okay.
Minutes from the previous meeting, can everyone please take a look at the minutes from the 5:31 meeting?
Move to approve. Second.
Everyone have a chance to, everyone okay? Oh, yeah, it's quite short.
It was so long ago.
I think, as I recall, that is all we did, right?
That's the only thing we did at that meeting.
Not to pursue that matter, so.
Yep.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No? Okay, those minutes are approved. Please take a look at the minutes from 5:24.
Move to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No? Okay, those minutes are approved as well then. Persons to be heard on the agenda or non-agenda items. We have no persons to be heard, so let's move on to special orders. We have no special orders. We've moved old business, the annual report, to after new business, so let's take a look at the disclosure forms. Why don't we start with the, with one, gift disclosure forms completed by employees of the municipality or by ASB.
Mr. Chairman, like for an example, here on Tamagotchi, Geisler, new board member, I think part of it is they're sending stuff that's really not a gift to them.
Right.
I mean, somebody else paid for her expenses to go on this trip, but this was a business trip.
It was reimbursement.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it was paid by the Military Child Education Coalition.
Right. But
It's reimbursing for her expenses on the
Yeah.
trip.
As a school board member.
Mhm.
Yeah. Is that,
We typically don't.
yeah, do we have jurisdiction over that? I mean, I suppose we do, but I mean, what are we doing with that?
In these particular cases, at least in the past, what we've done is because it's a reimbursement for a trip that we've done for work or for her elected position, we've always, we looked at it and go, okay, move on.
I agree, yeah, I mean, I don't think this person even necessarily needed to
Well,
disclose
she
this, but
went
if they
down
chose
there
to.
receive the award, so.
Yeah, that's right, so, to attend conference,
Right.
the notes on the back, the notes on the second page, right, to attend the conference and receive National Partnership Award. Board member attended at request of superintendent, yeah, so I think that's just fine.
The one here for the school teacher given by the parents.
Yeah, yeah, I saw that one, too, Chloe, right?
Yeah.
Well, that was a group of parents. I mean, it wasn't one individual.
Right, and that's why we generally, because the rules allow the groups to do it,
Right.
it's not a problem. Actually,
Are we taking them in order, or are we just,
I was just doing it in order. here. I
Oh.
was looking to see if there's anything in concern.
Have we got them all in the same order? Tammy,
Yes.
Clesdell?
Well,
No,
Tawny.
that's a-
There's a
that's a
Tammy
city.
Agosta Giesler.
No, that was the first one.
Yeah.
And you're correct, the second one is Tawny
But
Clydesdale.
that should come under the. well,
Yes, right.
Yeah.
Well, we're getting super organized here. I've never seen,
I know, look at
never had
this.
this thing all organized like
This is great.
this.
Well, you had an awful lot since you let me take the summer off so generously, so
Well,
I
us too. No,
thought
no,
I'd
we
better.
were-
That-
as
that's
I
an
recall, I was,
That's an
as I
item that
recall, I
we-
was in Maui for one of our proposed scheduled dates, so. much of it's
There will be
my
a
fault.
item of discussion later on, Mr. Chairman.
My Maui vacation, I brought pictures, so you're
No,
more
I
than
meant
discussion. I got
being
slideshow.
gone- Being gone for 3 months at a time was too long.
Yeah.
So how do we just go
Okay,
down these?
So which one are we doing?
Yeah, so basically, we just do what Keith is doing, is you go through, if you see one that you thought was problematic, pull it and let's discuss it and see if it's a problem, otherwise just sort
Well, I
of.
think that-
So like all this mayor stuff, the mayor summit stuff, that's all reimbursement, right, for official business. And most of stuff,
So far, I haven't done anything. It's-
yeah, I mean, I think from,
The only one I would like to discuss, and that's that one from the 3 passes to H2O's Oasis. And the only reason I wanted that, they didn't want to accept that, but they said, no, we're going to leave it anyway, and this sort of thing, and so, what do you do in a situation like that? The only thing here, she says she's going to use them unless we tell them, unless we tell her that they can't.
so who is this person? Tawny?
Tawny
Works up in,
Clevesaddle.
She works up in the municipal manager's office.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
yeah.
I
So
would-
she got some passes.
It might be
from
suggested to
H2Os.
use that as some sort of incentive or, or giveaway to some members of the,
Well, yeah, because she
the staff.
indicated, she says, I plan to use them unless you deem otherwise, so.
or she filled this thing out in June.
She did. I bet
Maybe
these
she
are long
already
gone.
used it.
I would imagine these are long gone.
Nothing like going to the pool when it's 45 and raining out.
I mean, I don't think that he was asking anything from her. I'm familiar with Dennis's situation there with DOT and why he thought that this might have something to do with DOT. He's got a lot of issues with access to his road and stuff. He's been coming to my community council meetings.
Oh, that's right.
So
That's
he
right.
probably simply was there, and then when this was really outside of, because that's a state DOT situation that he's
Right.
involved in. He probably just said, hey, I've got these free passes. He gives them out all the, I mean, he really does. He just passes them out like candy.
Right.
And the value, yes, $25 or $75, but I mean, really, she's probably used them by now. I don't know what else.
Yeah, but-
I think that, I'm with Ted, I think she should have used them maybe, or told somebody to use them as some kind of an
Well,
incentive, but then,
But we should, because she indicated in there that unless we tell her otherwise, she was going to use them, so, maybe
We never did.
we should tell her that, hey, go ahead and use
No,
them.
I don't think it's a problem. It's barely
I don't
over,
think it's a
it's
problem.
barely over the disclosure limit. And again, the idea is that, that the gifts are occasional and the timing is such that it doesn't, arise suspicion. And I don't see either here. This is a single gift. It's a relatively small
Yeah.
sum. Again, like to go back to like some of the teacher issues, the thing that I've always worried about the teacher is that, the teacher is giving out something of direct interest to a student, a parent, parent of a student. And usually these gifts are coming in just a couple weeks before grades are due. I don't see the same kind of relationship here, so I don't see this as a problem.
I'm a little confused as to what's a, I'm assuming there's some sort of potential violation or potential financial disclosures with this POFD is?
yeah, that's after the gift.
Is that in the next,
disclosure.
why don't we,
Yeah,
does
the
anyone
next
have
one.
any other things about the
I didn't have anything.
disclosures
Yeah.
about?
Only one, I mean, this,
Yeah,
I
which
mean, I
one?
assume that this, it's the Chloe,
Oh, right,
Perry
right.
one. I mean, group of parents gave gift cards to Allure and Skinny Raven valued at $200. The gift was received from parents of my students. I'm the teacher of their children. And it's for thanks and appreciation for the school year. Does she have any of those children again next year? Especially since it's a charter school, or does she have the family of any, I mean, brothers and sisters of any of those children? That seems,
Well, strictly
Yeah.
speaking, we have been concerned about group gifts that are non-anonymous. for teachers, and so that is, I think that is a concern. I mean, this gift was received, it looks like May 15th, right? So it was received, again, it's another one, received
Right before the
two weeks or
grades.
so before final grades are due.
Yeah.
If it's a group of 4 parents giving gifts, well, then our concern about conflict of interest is relevant, right? I mean, it's the same kind of situation. So,
Yeah, I think you have to, whenever it comes from an individual to an individual, I think it needs to be looked at.
yeah,
When
the
it
kind
comes
of-
from a group of parents, like the PTA or something like that, it's a little different. But when it comes from an individual to an individual, and they are grades are coming out and,
That's right. It's one thing if it's a whole class, or that we do,
Yeah.
because that's basically anonymous, right? You
Right.
don't know
Right.
which of those students. And it's another thing if it's a track team or something like that, where a resource, a grade, is not going to be
Yeah.
given.
And we don't really know here, just.
We
a
just
group of
really don't know.
parents.
So if you want, I mean, I could draw up a little letter to send her to say, just remind her, here's the policy, and if you're going to receive group gifts, you should try to have them either be anonymous or encourage the parents to give you the gift after grades are due, after
Right.
the end of the academic
right
school
after
year.
But of more concern to me actually was that there was relatively few ASD reports this time from the end of the year.
Usually you have.
Usually we get a pretty big pile.
Economy's bad, people not giving, or? just-
Well, I mean, I know ASD sent out something to
It could be that
to
our public relations
explain,
campaign has
yes,
worked, right? That
But,
we,
you know, but I'm a
it could be
little
that people just don't want to
doubtful.
report.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in this one, yeah, I would not be
how about-
objecting to a letter being written just to remind.
Yeah, well, we're already several
Or maybe
months
Barbara.
past this event, so I could draw something up and we could approve it at the next meeting and I could send it
Yeah.
off to her. Barbara, go ahead.
I have a question about that one. Would it have made a difference if she said in the disclosure, I had a gift from 4 parents or a gift from 20 parents? Would that have made a difference if she had told you how many parents contributed to that
I think
gift?
so, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was 20 parents,
Right.
you'd go, well,
A
it's,
lot
you know,
of them do that. They say a group
Yeah.
of parents, it's spelled out.
So-
a group of parents could have been 3 parents,
Yeah.
and so, yes, it would have helped if she'd have spelled out how many.
I think, yeah,
parents.
because we have been trying, we have resisted having a hard and fast rule on this kind of stuff. We've been trying to be pretty contextual about it on a case-by-case basis. And so it definitely would help to know how many parents. But the number being larger does not necessarily make it okay. If it's 20 in a class of 40, then it's still, the concern is still that you have 20 students that gave a gift to the teacher 2 weeks before grades were due, right? And as the teacher's going through grading, half of the students did give a gift and half of the students didn't, right? And it's precisely that kind of differentiation that we're worried about. But yeah, obviously it makes a huge
And
difference.
she
I
doesn't
think.
say what
2
grade she's
versus 20.
teaching either, wasn't graduation the 14th or the 15th? So if it was seniors, they may have been reported
I don't think Woodbury has.
that
Yeah.
situation. All right. Thank you.
So does that sound like a plan? I'll go ahead and draft a letter on that one, and we'll approve it at the next meeting, and then we'll send it off. Another month isn't gonna hurt, we're already half a year behind. Good, any other ones from this first packet, the gift forms completed by employees and ASD folks? Okay, do we have a motion to accept them then? Accept these disclosure forms?
Move to accept.
Second?
Aye.
All those in favor say aye.
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 No. Okay, those forms are accepted. Let's take a look at next section, disclosures completed by elected municipal officials. Oh, only a couple of those, right? So do we
I don't see any.
have a motion to accept those?
Move to accept.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? Okay, those pass. How about disclosure forms of present economic interest? Board, commission, other municipal body.
This is very nice that you separated them.
Oh yeah, this is great.
It makes us a lot more efficient.
This poor person, I have no economic interest to disclose. That's sad.
I see that. I would motion to accept those.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those no. All right, and disclosure forms from employees or board members of ASD. These are- We've got the requisite letters of purchasing that these employees don't influence the decisions that might otherwise create a conflict.
Mr. Chairman, I move to accept.
Second.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? Okay, let's take a look at the PUFTA form.
I wasn't sure what this was.
Me neither.
This isn't a new format, we're not sure what it is.
Excuse me for just, I'm so sorry.
All right, no one.
Well, we still have a forum.
Yes.
Well,
just-
I'll tell you, I admit, maybe I'm not supposed to give this to you, but it's Jeff Friedman finished his term on the school board. And so this is the form he filed with the state, the Alaska Public Offices Commission. It's
Okay,
his
that's why it's so
final
detailed.
disclosure
Okay,
form.
we've never, not that you made a mistake, but we've never seen
Okay.
these before.
So he filed it with us, and I didn't know anybody better to give it to.
Oh, look at that.
Because they are required to show not only what they own, but their spouse have to the state. You know, and that's, in fact, I know people who have not run for office because the state rules are real. Gentleman didn't want to tell everybody who was his wife's clients were. She's an advertising company.
Interesting. And so his term is finished, or? Yeah. So he, okay. So he's no longer,
Yeah, I think when
He's not on
we
the school board,
finally
he's
certified the election in,
Just a few weeks ago.
so anyway,
almost as
his
slow as us.
his term was up.
There was just a little turnover in the clerk's office.
Just a little.
I remember that.
Okay, well, I don't think we have to act on this then, right? Is that, we can just sort of take this as an informational point and, but you know, Barbara, I think you're right though. If you get these, I think it would be nice for us to see them actually. Because I certainly know, I know on occasion, as I recall, we've looked at these a couple times in the past when we were concerned about conflict of interest type problems and someone said, well, go find like the APOC stuff, or go find the stuff that they were filing.
But
with
this
the
is what they
state.
file as they leave office, not as they come into office.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's kind of like after the
That's-
fact.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So what are we gonna do about these?
Yeah.
Oh, you shouldn't have been a school board member for all that time?
Why on earth did they do that?
I anticipate that they probably have some filings that they do with us before, during their term.
When they're elected, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
very much.
So I'll provide those to you
Okay.
then as information.
'Cause that's-
Okay, or at least as long as we have them handy, I mean,
Okay.
because every now and then, it's happened a couple times where we need to dig through them to really.
And I'll let you know that Barbara's part of the group, a working group within the city, where one of the suggestions is that each board is staffed, and that staffers must do ethics training every year and accept disclosure forms at the beginning of January every single year. So you will start getting these on a regular basis. It's just like the gift disclosures. This is a very small representation of people who are turning these in. But Barbara's group is changing that. So you will have, every board will start reporting in.
Including ours, because I haven't filled one out in a couple of years.
Mhm. Yes. In fact, I even talked to Julia today again about some additional training for this board.
I also spoke to Julie, and she was going to meet with us in our June meeting. Unfortunately, we didn't have.
Mhm.
She and I, we serve in the same Rotary.
All right, very good. Cool. Let's take a look at the notice of potential violation. We are now back in public session. And do we have a motion regarding notice of potential violation 2012-2?
I make a motion that we continue this fact-finding mission and have Maury come in and speak to the board and give us the process. as
Okay, let's
to how-
remember, we're now in public session, right? So let's
Right,
try to
yeah.
have words and
Yeah,
facts to.
you know, to basically, this contract, if he can fill us in on this contract as to how, when, why, who,
All right.
all of this.
Okay.
I'm just-
So,
I think
so,
that
so
would
so are
answer
you
my-
moving to continue the discussion of this to our
Right,
next meeting?
fact-finding. And with, you know, bring it, first thing to do is to bring in Maury.
Well, on
Yeah.
notice of public violation 2012-2.
Yeah.
And is it
Or a
appropriate
petition,
to?
I'm sorry, what was the? Notice of potential
To
violation.
amend it, we may want to amend that to remove the name of the individual that we're going to discuss with, if that could potentially give us an issue.
So an amendment to continue a fact gathering
Yes.
mission, as he said, in regards to this
Yeah.
possible violation.
12-2.
That sounds, but you
So-
accept that as a friendly?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we'll call that the motion. Do we have a second for that motion?
Yes, second.
Okay, all those in favor of that motion, say aye.
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 Opposed, no? All right, very good, so we will
But
continue.
one thing I would like to mention, we don't want to bring in too many people or whatever on one meeting, so,
Right.
you know. It's,
We only have the one person though.
Right, right now. yeah.
Hopefully we would have some minutes and stuff by then as well.
Scheduling, updated ethics training.
I put that on here, and as Mr. Silver noted, Julia Tucker had discussed with both Deanna and myself that she is prepared to do some training for the board, and I told her I would put that on the agenda for you. And so the question is, when would you like to do it and how long? I think she did it for the assembly, and it was an hour and a half.
If I can,
Sorry.
we might want to wait till after, if he gets reappointed or not, or, you know, like, we're going to have a new body on here, or, you know, to do it.
Keith, do you want to continue?
If the mayor asks me, I will say yes.
But, I mean,
Actually, the mayor is asking, and they're asking, do
It's
the
interesting, I haven't had a
people...
single call.
Well, they've actually,
They've
they've
asked you
actually
this.
contacted all the staffers and said, do you know if these people want to be reappointed?
Okay, yes.
okay,
Okay.
other than you, is there anybody else up on this board?
No, because the
How
next
long is that
person.
term?
Well, I'm not
2
sure if I
years.
was
Yeah,
filling
2
a
years.
position that does expire in October.
You may want to
Or
check.
I think that,
You may want to check with Jay.
I think that I may have been filling a position that was expiring, so I would need to be reappointed.
So, actually, Jay isn't here anymore, so
Oh.
she left in August, so the
Somebody,
new
you guys, have you
person-
found the wood on that desk yet? Last time I looked at it, it was this high.
So, you know, I think you might be correct, so may I inform her
You
of
may.
the
Because
same
you may have
thing?
taken Robin Phillips'
I
position, you
think
took
I
the
did.
position of the gentleman with the, worked for,
But you would like to remain as
Yes.
chair. So I think, given everybody's attendance and attendance,
Yes.
so given that, we know these individuals will remain.
could we potentially, is it better to schedule that? We did this once before, and I
Right.
attended, and I will attend again. Not at a board meeting, but at another meeting,
Or maybe-
a mutual, that, you know.
Like a bar.
Well,
I
that
think
would work
that's an
too.
excellent suggestion.
Where I could get a beer.
Yeah, according to our
Not that I would do this.
2010 annual report, Robin's term expires October 2013.
13, okay.
So if this is accurate, then you're good.
Well, I don't know which.
I don't know what
I'm
position I was
filling for either.
filling.
According to this report, you're no longer on the
We've all-
board. So
I'm not on the board.
You have been phased out, Ted.
I'm sorry.
We've told the clerk that we're all one, so whoever coming up.
It says your nameplate is to be destroyed. And
I'm-
You know,
I was
Well,
half kidding.
she didn't bring it down.
that's right. That's right. That's why she was like, "Who are you?"
Everybody, that depending on, because this is a pretty big time commitment for everybody, to the extent we could substitute this for a meeting, which is, you know, your 10 minutes of gift disclosures on one side or the other, and that really
That would be
depends on
great.
the notice of violation issues. But it's good training to have early on.
I think it would be great.
Unless people have the additional time that we could just set it aside despite the monthly
Well,
meeting.
I guess what I'm looking at is we have this big issue coming that we'll probably be pretty busy this next time. That puts it to November. And it's just one more, so that was, my encouragement was to potentially schedule a special.
A special meeting.
At a bar, which I think is. That would be fine with me. I'll be out of town for the first 2 weeks of October, so won't be available for this either. So if we're gonna do some scheduling, I'll be back on the 14th of October from the 1st to the 14th.
I don't think there's anything, the ethics training doesn't have to be an official meeting, right? I mean, it doesn't have to be a special, so we really could talk to her and just find out when we're available, meet at someone's house. And
Well, let's try to work it so we schedule everybody's time here.
Yeah.
Yeah, McGinley's or.
Bring
Well,
lunch.
that's the mayor's bar, we really couldn't.
Oh, boy, that's gonna look bad, yeah.
I was gonna say, there are problems with that, public meetings and.
So maybe,
Oh, is it? So it
maybe
has to
at
be a
lunch,
public
just
meeting.
bring lunch in here, that would.
No, so it really does need to be a.
If there's a
Public
quorum, it does need to be.
Oh, for training?
But you've got public notice and
Oh.
Yes.
open meetings law.
Really, training is a
If it's
For the
public
training?
meeting?
But if we have just a training session.
We've gotten off to this in other areas, I can just tell you it's problematic, and
Okay,
I don't know
okay.
where the lines
But
are.
we could potentially schedule a lunch and
I-
make it an
that
hour and a
sounds
half
fine.
lunch.
Yeah, that's fine.
Just
It's
bring
like
your lunch
bring
in
your
here,
own.
and can we eat in here? and just
Yes.
Bring our lunch in
Yeah,
here?
that'd be fine.
The clerk's office will pay for lunch for you.
That's even better.
Wow.
You
So
sold me.
we'll have to file a disclosure.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not gonna eat $50.
I like it, absolutely.
No,
Although
that'd
mimosas.
be fine. That'd work
Okay.
well. I look forward to it.
That's fine.
So
I do too.
should I send out a request? Would you like to do it in the next 2 weeks or in the
You're gonna
next?
be gone.
Oh,
I'll be
they have to
gone
be-
for the first 2 weeks, and next week will be kind of slamming. I mean, I can make time, I suppose, next week if you really need me to. But I don't know when we're gonna get to this as well, and do you wanna wait until the middle of
Can
October?
I suggest third week of October at this point?
Third week, is that?
No,
Do we have a meeting in third week
That's
schedule
gonna be the
already?
weekend of the 15th.
A lunchtime meeting.
Our next meeting is October 15th.
No, that would be the third week of October, would be the week of the 15th.
Good.
And you're getting back to 14?
Yeah, I'll be back in my office
Well,
on
what
the
if
15th.
we had the training right before the rest of the regular meeting?
That would be great. Then
Have
you'd
the
have
luncheon
lunch.
and then the meeting.
Yeah.
That'd be fine, because
Lunch and
I would
training.
be able to do lunch and then I clear time
Yeah,
for
is
this
our
meeting
regular meeting on the
anyway, so.
18th? Is that what we decided? It would be the third Thursday, is that?
It should be the
So
third.
that would be the 18th of October.
Thursday, the 18th.
Okay, so.
Rotary meeting, which is
so-
no big deal.
Well, could people pull that off then?
I
So
can-
instead
Which-
of,
I'm sorry,
instead of
which
meeting
week?
at 1:30, meet
What's
at
the date?
noon
18th
here for a
today.
lunch training thing? and
Lunch here at
then
noon, the meeting follows.
Maybe
right
take just like a
after
15-minute break after that.
At
and
that
then come
meeting,
back
we'd be
for our,
continuing
I
with the
think that
facts.
should work.
It's a long day, but if, you know,
Yeah,
it's a
no,
big
sure.
chunk out of people's days, but if you can.
And an hour and a half is best for training if there's
Oh, I
a
think
fair
so,
amount
But
to
it
go
might,
through.
but it might be more convenient to do that like that than rather than come back down. For me,
Yeah.
I'm way in South
Well, I
Anchorage,
think-
all the way down here to
I think
town.
That's great, yeah,
absolutely.
just we're here for
As the
lunch.
economist said, the transaction costs alone, right?
Yeah, so I think that's fine.
Okay, so we'll
18th, we meet here,
do, so
and
we'll,
we go.
we'll say what we're gonna do, basically commit yourself to from noon to 3:30
On the 18th?
for ethics on the 18th.
And I'll confirm that with Julia and then send
Oh, yeah,
out a
let's- yeah,
notice
let's-
to everybody.
Yeah, let's see if, as long as she can do
1:30
that
to
too.
3, I mean, 1,
1:30
noon to 3.
3 to 3.
Noon to 3,
Yeah.
okay.
If I may suggest on your notices that you sent to us, if you could send it to us in an appointment form, so that we go into Outlook.
Right.
Dee actually suggested that, and I tried, but I think I had a few little snafus this time. I think I did it from the wrong calendar. I've got like 4 up on my desk that I'm in charge
Okay.
of, so.
Okay, but yeah,
I'll
that is
figure
what
it
I
out.
Because that way it pulls right into our calendars.
You betcha.
And then you get the response that says whether they're going to be there or not.
All right, very good.
So
So we've got, so we're scheduling done. So the last item on the agenda then is this language that I sent out. Does everyone have a copy of this, the recommendation for the annual report? I think it was in the packet, right?
I think I left all of those with you, so there should be.
I don't have one.
All of the copies that I.
Mr.
think
Chair, I
made
did not
6
have an opportunity to
copies.
read your language
I
because
did
it
not
was
either.
not timely.
So the short answer is no.
No.
None of us.
So here, I've got one copy.
I didn't, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, wait a minute. No, I have several copies. Here you go.
Okay.
Here
Do you have copies of
I
it?
don't.
Is this of your language?
This is my language.
I have. It's 20 to 3.
This is the email I sent out. this morning, 6:30 in the morning, slavishly working on this board in Grates. Oh, I'm going to erase that, sorry.
Oh, you mean the last month while in official business, Assembly Person X received a large bribe for bad letter? Okay.
Yes, I'd like to add that language to the code.
Mhm.
So,
And if plausible.
So this is the problem that we've had, right? Not necessarily with the kind of case that we talked about today, but we've had, several cases where if you followed the code to the letter, someone could make almost any kind of allegation with almost any support or no support. And the code as it states, if you look, the key is, if the board determines that the allegation and notice of potential violation, if proven, so assume it's true, assume that these allegations are true, may it constitute a violation of the matter in the board's jurisdiction? That's a very, very low standard, and it's one that maybe in practice would be best augmented by allowing the board within the code to engage in a kind of a little bit of fact-finding, fact gathering, to determine, in the language I propose, but the lawyer is going to help you out a lot better, is plausibility. And so the language I'm going to use, in other words, do a little bit of fact-finding to say, are these allegations actually plausible? So I'm not just going to assume that they're true and then say, would that violate the code? That's why I use the Vladimir Putin thing. Someone could make any kind of allegation. And, okay, if true, I guess that would be a violation of the code. But also allow the board the latitude to do a little bit of fact-finding and to ask itself, is there a certain plausibility to these allegations? And if it finds that the allegations are plausible, and if true, violate the code, then launch a formal investigation.
Okay, is plausible a word like, a lawyer word like reasonable?
No. And I was going to say the same thing. I don't think plausibility says all of that.
Okay.
So I think you've identified the problem, and we
Okay.
experienced it as well today. But the word plausibility doesn't answer that problem.
Okay.
It creates more. So we
So,
I agree.
So what do you think, David? So, I mean, prima facie true or something like that?
My
or-
hesitation is always less is more. That's my gut initial reaction is that the language as it is, and I know that this is almost like a motion for summary judgment or something, where it based, or a motion to dismiss,
That's right,
based
that's
on
right.
things, if proven, it's a very low standard. That doesn't mean, though, that the court wouldn't do, or we wouldn't do exactly what we're doing right now, is basically determining whether, if proven, someone, I don't know that additional language is necessary to enable us to do what we're already doing, which essentially is additional fact-finding. To me, that's my gut feeling. I haven't thought about it any more than that.
Okay.
But I just know from practice and my experience that when you start any language, even if you pick the absolute perfect word, if it's not plausible, it's another word. It's another word that just gets wrapped up into, okay, what does that mean? Once you're gone and aren't able to explain it to, then where do we go? That's my gut feeling, but I haven't really thought about it more than that.
Well, doesn't it already say if the board determines,
Right.
determine is finding, plausibility is, I think you're right.
That's right, I agree.
It's determining the allegation in a notification of potential violation if
Exactly.
proven. So we're going to determine, and
We're all-
then if
that's right.
proven, we'll go forward.
It's almost like our fact-finding
Well,
falls into that word determines.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that, though, because if you look at what is it that we're determining? So if it determines that the allegations in the notice of potential violation, bracket out if proven, may constitute a violation of a matter within the board's jurisdiction. So in other words, I read that to mean, assume that the facts asserted are true. Would those facts be a violation of the code? Now, I don't see that as a fact-finding issue. I find that as a conceptual issue, a judgmental issue. Would these facts violate the code? To say, is it true or is it plausible or does it even have a prima facie plausibility to it? It seems to me that's a different judgment because that's a fact-finding judgment that we're giving. But that's sort of what the investigation is supposed to be about, right? The investigation is sort of supposed to be about, are those facts in fact true?
And then we often end up where we were today, for example, where we have the if true. Well, what if true? I mean, the allegations in the I keep calling it petition, but it's the notice. If we're not even exactly sure what the petition is saying, and that's part of our job. I think we do a lot of background information to figure out to determine. To me, that's part of what it means to determine.
Right.
is trying to figure out exactly what the allegations are in the notice, and also trying to figure, so to me, it all kind of falls in there. But I'm certainly open for, I'm.
Well, but I'm very sympathetic to your idea. I was thinking the same thing. Like, we're already sort of in practice doing something I think is very reasonable. Part of me just instinctually, I have the opposite instinct that you do, right? So I guess perhaps as a philosopher, right? I kind of like want that codified. I want that out in the open. This is more or less what we're doing.
No,
and in part precisely for when I'm gone and when we're all gone, that it's clear to boards in the future. This is sort of the way it's been handled in the past.
And my suggestion would be this: if, again, I haven't really thought this through because it came in at 6 o'clock this morning, something like that. Yeah, but no. My suggestion would be if we do feel it necessary to essentially codify what we're already doing, what we've already sort of read into the code as it is, then my suggestion would be to actually set it out in a new statement. Not just try to modify it,
but actually make it even that much more explicit.
Make it, if we're going to make it clear, make it absolutely clear that the board has within its authority the ability to do fact-finding prior to launching an investigation. I mean, that to me would be better than to add a word or two and then try to modify what's already there. Because that to me can open the door to all kinds of other issues, if we feel like we need to go that direction.
In police work, I mean, when we would determine whether or not there was a crime that occurred, we use that term. You're determining whether, and which is fact-finding before you decide. Actually, it's kind of oddly worded here. If the board determines the allegation in a notification of potential violation, comma, if proven, comma, may constitute. So the wording is kind of weird here. If the board determines the allegation is a violation and it can be proven, may constitute a violation. In other words, I think that you're right. Rather than trying to add a word to this or a new phrase to this particular sentence, it may require rewriting the sentence in a different way.
I mean, I take it you're right that it looks like it's modeled after the standard of dismissal.
It's
right? We're asking the
remarkably-
judge just simply as a matter
I
of
don't know,
law.
Dean,
Don't
how
worry
you
about whether
feel
the facts are
about
true,
that.
but as a matter of law, if what they're saying is all 100%
That's right.
true, would there in fact be?
It's remarkably similar to that standard, which makes me think that maybe that's where they got that phrase, because it certainly sounds like something a court would come up with, right?
Yes.
Like,
It
doesn't
very
sound
much.
like a
Well, that's what I'm
normal
saying.
person would.
Who would talk that way? If the
Exactly.
board determines that, and then a comma, and then you pause, and then
Right.
if proven, and it just doesn't. It doesn't flow.
If I might suggest, next meeting, we're gonna have an opportunity to meet with the drafter of this, of our regulation,
Oh, that's cool.
or the code, so we can determine intent at that particular point.
How do you feel?
No, I'd ask Julia, and I agree.
Oh, okay.
I think you're pointing out the whole section is sort of badly worded. Definitely make it, if you're going to modify it, make it clear.
It's kind of
Yeah,
lawyer
you're right.
speak,
That
and
whole
that always
section
gives us a
gets
headache.
changed, we
And
should
there-
rewrite it, if we're going to do this.
Terry,
No,
thereafter,
I mean, I'm serious.
thereafter, I'm sorry. I mean, thereafter is the whole section on what we do in terms of notifying the respondent. Let's
Right.
clear the whole thing up. I mean,
Mhm.
so one paragraph, and you assign one of us to do it. No, but we'll ask Julia.
I think you're right. I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, if we're going to do it, you're right. We should. The process
Clean
is
up that
not laid
whole
out as clearly
process.
as it could be.
It's 2
and
paragraphs
tweak it a little
long.
bit.
That's
We
right.
should do that, the whole thing.
I-
Because
I
it just
agree.
seemed, because I noticed, it seemed like we had a case the last time, and it just seemed like there was a lot of reluctance on the part of government to like get into a formal investigation. As I point out in my reasoning,
Mhm.
and not without doubt, I mean, like once a formal investigation, there's always risk, even with our confidentiality safeguards, that there's now a formal ethics investigation. We certainly have had some people during the investigation hire lawyers with their own money and bring lawyers in. Certainly it's stressful, people come into these meetings. It's not cost-free for any of us, but certainly for respondents, to have an investigation launched against them. And so I think there is good reason that if you can do some quick fact-finding and say, oh, actually, these allegations have no merit whatsoever, and then just dismiss
I
the
agree.
whole thing, that would seem better to me than always saying, assume everything that they said is true, and is there a violation? That seems to me get us into many more investigations than we would.
That's true, and in fact, when you're dealing with a motion to dismiss, for example, it's all in an effort to remain efficient. You don't want to dismiss a count haphazardly and then cause the person additional expense to then refile it in a different way when it can be very easily modified. Or, I mean, in a way, I guess what I'm saying is that even though the language may reflect similar, the point of the legal standard for a motion to dismiss, which may
It
be
is
where it's
actually.
borrowed from, is actually a very different intent from what
Right.
this provision means. So,
Right.
what we're all trying to do is remain efficient, and so that and be very sensitive to investigations and what kind of burden it poses for someone, for a respondent. for
So
example.
do we need to meet with Julia and talk about this?
Well, maybe we can include this, I mean, I only threw this out not for approval today, just to start to
Yeah.
get a
Right.
conversation going.
Absolutely.
And so
I think it's a great
Julia
conversation
and
for
just-
training.
Yeah, and the training is, the
Excellent.
one time I went through it is pretty open. She'll actually go through the code and she'll tell you, we have a lot more power than we think we have.
Yeah, the last session was great.
Yeah.
It was very,
Excellent.
very
So
good.
it's pretty interesting that you go through it. Power, yeah, if you want to get power. Or the code gives us a lot more authority than we think we have.
Yeah, well, yeah, it allows us to do more than we thought, right? I mean, we thought there was some stuff that were like, yeah, we think this is a code violation of the code, but the code doesn't empower us to do anything about it. And she's like, what are you talking about? Of course. And then she pulled up this other section that we almost never look at. She's like, look, you're allowed to do this, 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 and this. And it dramatically, the way we handle the gift thing now is completely different thanks to her input, so.
So it's something that we should talk to her about.
Well,
Yeah,
what
I think so.
what I'd like to ask is, could I add that to your old business for the next meeting discussion of this code
Sure,
change language?
if she's willing to hang around afterwards.
Right.
Or
I-
we
or we might
we might
just-
even be able to address it right there and then be able to bring it up after she's
Well, but
gone.
now that we're part of the meeting, I think what she's suggesting, it has to be part of the other, because we don't keep minutes during a training session, or do we?
Well, and I wonder, we could talk about this language and
It's
this
a
issue with her
training.
during the training, and then during the meeting, if we have time, we could make it an agenda item and continue our discussion of it, and maybe we even actually appoint someone to start writing some
Yeah.
language on it, or we just say, actually, let's just not touch it, we feel good about the way it is.
And I also think her training it does take an hour and a half, so I know you'll have time for some questions, but I don't think you'll have time for an in-depth conversation of that item.
Okay,
You
good.
you might, but I don't, I want to make sure I give her enough time.
No, that's fine.
Okay, good, yeah, let's do that.
Well, then would we want to schedule our guest next time at maybe 2:00?
Maury? No.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's part, well, we should do that certainly
Yeah.
for them. I mean, that person's coming in, and so we should make it a time certain. Can we do that? Can we make
Yes.
it a time?
Yes, we can.
Time certain issue?
Yes.
That gives us opportunity to get this, have the training, have the opportunity to have this discussion in our meeting,
Okay.
and move it up in front of our agenda under old
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
Well, okay. We hope to have the training at noon, start the meeting at 1:30, and have
Him invite
a
you.
guest come in at 2:00.
Well,
Yeah.
that was
That
a
way-
suggestion, if
That-
2:30
that's
makes
fine.
more sense.
And that way, even if we're running a little bit late, a little bit over from
We can
training, something
take
like
it
that,
out.
2:00's a nice safe, that gives us a half hour to kind of get into the meeting and get to precisely where we
Yeah, I like
want
that.
to be.
Because, yeah, we may need to get to the point where we have him in, so we can refresh our memories. and stuff.
Yeah, because in the meantime, if we have the time, we may also have some information that Dee's got for us that we kind of like percolate a little bit.
Or the Barbara has like minutes and stuff that we can look at. If they're there.
All right, very good. Well, I think that's it for today.
Actually, under
Oh,
board members' comments.
Yeah, members' comments, please.
I would like to encourage us not to have a 3-month break again. I appreciate that there were conflicts, but as long as we have a quorum, if we could continue to meet, 3 months was a long time, and I appreciate that you were just coming on board, and then you had a pre-scheduled trip. You went to Hawaii. That's not a good reason
I
to
went
miss
to
the
Hawaii,
meeting.
you know, and
Yeah.
quite frankly, I can't stand this board.
Yeah.
I felt that way myself.
So did you meet it, you didn't meet in June?
Not at all.
No.
June, July,
Ah.
August, it's been a long time,
It's
so.
been a long time. It's been a long
It was May 31st?
Oh, yeah, well, but what happened, I think for the first couple of cases, Barbara Grunstein came to me and said, look, there's just nothing, there's almost nothing on this agenda, there's a few disclosure forms, you know, and we said, okay, well, let's put it off. And then what happened, an unforeseen, sort of like suddenly we had all these scheduling conflicts, and things kind of stacked up. But I agree, I think the spirit's right, I think if we can get even a bare quorum, we should mean at least be knocking out some of the, you know, the disclosures and stuff like that, and, you know, and maybe, if we had, I mean, this notice of potential violation, I think just got filed recently, and I think that was part of it, why we just didn't have anything.
Did you go
To
through
be
this
honest, that
already?
was
Yeah.
pressing, that was
You went through this
pressing.
before I got here?
Yeah.
And then one other thing, speaking of annual report, you are the author of the annual report. This is only part of that.
Oh, yes.
Now, has the office already given you
No.
all your stats yet?
No.
Okay, and
So again, that's part of
so
part of the turnover,
Yeah.
kind of slow. Barbara was about to give me all this stuff, and then she left.
the young man who was working for her was the one that pulled all together stuff last year. And he was still, I forget his name, but
Oh,
he
what's
was,
his name?
Josh.
Josh.
he's the one that pulled all the data for
He
me for
doesn't
the
work
last
there.
several reports that
He's
I
gone
wrote.
too.
He's gone too.
Yeah.
What was his last name?
Musgrove.
Oh.
I'm thinking it was somebody else that pulled those.
Seth Combs.
Oh, that sounds right.
Yeah, at any rate.
He's gone too.
So
Wow.
So, okay,
If you pull up the last annual report that we wrote,
I already did.
okay, you can see the information that they're looking for. And it's basically somebody needs to go, somebody in your office goes through and collates all, how many complaints we got, how, this and this, this and this.
Okay.
Because he can't finish his annual report for 2011
until I get the stats.
until he gets the stats.
For 2011.
Now, is that fiscal year 2012 actually, or is that on calendar year? I don't,
We're calendar year.
From the calendar year.
okay, so we're still working on 2011's report.
Got
Oh,
it.
for sure.
Okay, so I need to pull the data for 2011 that's in the 2010 report that
Yes,
I
please.
just printed, all right?
Yeah.
Is the annual report typically does it look like this each year? You're just inserting-
Typically, and then,
Inserting statistics.
and somebody writes, I wrote the
It's
last
mostly-
two.
Usually, yeah,
two or
you
three.
do the inserting of statistics, there's, a kind of, prose summary of maybe some key issues. So I was mostly, and I'll bring in this language next time, summarize what we did with the teachers and the gifts, and just kind of like give it, because this gets presented to the assembly, so just giving an update, this is what we've been doing in this area. And then propose changes to the code, which I don't think we've done in a few years. And so that was the spirit of me getting this language out here, and start to think about like, are there some proposed changes we'd like to, some proposals we'd like to make to the assembly about changing the code.
And I would like to encourage you to discuss those with Dee and Julia. I think there's always that concern about once you open the door, you never know what will happen. And so I would just, make sure that you really, really can't operate with the code as it is. And I'm sure Julia and Dee will tell you the same thing.
Okay.
Excellent.
Very good. Any other member comments? Oh, so to finish up on key, so I think, I would encourage that, if I can't make a meeting, we should just plow on for sure. I say, even if we've got a bare quorum, it's still worth meeting, especially if there's stuff that's pressing. Now, if there's stuff that's controversial, stuff like that, we
In
may
this particular,
want
yeah, we could table it, but in this particular case, there wasn't anything until 8/29, which
Yeah.
was, and I appreciate that.
Still, 2 months tops we should still come
Well,
together.
Another thing that I think we deserve, and that's to have the same room all the time. You know, I mean, we got the notice that it was room 155.
Well, at first it was
and
room
then-
240, then it was
Right,
155,
okay.
then we
Then
just show up and it's here.
155, we come here to 155, no, they've changed it, it's gonna be 150. I mean, if we have regularly scheduled meetings, we should be able to have the room set aside.
Well, especially if they're open to public, to the
Yeah.
public. I mean, the young lady who was setting up everything in here found me wandering in the hallway, so, I mean,
And-
literally,
Oh, yeah, I was trying to
while
get into
we're at
the
it,
assembly.
I was trying to get in the other room.
What's that young lady's name? Who you're?
That's Amanda Moser.
Amanda, yeah.
Amanda, yeah.
She's one of the new deputies.
I must have looked confused. She says, ethics board?
But I
Isn't
mean,
it
we have-
responsible for the board?
Up on the 8th floor
Yeah.
one time, and then,
Yeah.
and then at 240, now
So-
here.
so
Yeah,
try-
So help me understand that, are you saying that that's not just this summer? You're
Oh, no,
saying
no,
this
no.
has been.
No, the moving around from room to room has been a significant
Ah.
issue.
Yeah.
And, you really don't know, and sometimes I'll look at the board, And it didn't even have it on the board today. The public meeting isn't required to be posted on that board?
Well, it does, it has it on.
Well, but it makes it easier for those of us when we get there.
It is posted.
No, it's
Not on the board there right now. on
No,
the-
I
when you
I
come in
actually
here.
enjoyed that assembly
Yeah.
room because there was plenty of room. This is a little small for a public meeting.
Supposedly somebody's coming back there at 2:00,
Okay.
and doing something in
So-
there, so. Okay,
Yeah.
But anyway,
what do we do?
Well,
Barbara
the
will
room-
try to ensure that we're.
The
in
room
place.
240, I thought is a good room, because there's enough room.
240?
Back when we were
Was
meeting
there
very
some reason-
regular, I mean, that was 240 was our standard, we were almost
Right.
always in
Oh,
there.
Was there something
Oh,
going
that
on there
works.
today?
Yeah, that was a
There's
good one.
training
Oh,
going on in
I
240,
see.
and unfortunately, our meeting was booked, but it got scheduled on top of it, and it's people that have got computers, and regrettably, it's.
Well, I'd like to
it's
move
the
that we try to
clerk's
keep us
office.
at
I have to
240.
apologize,
Oh, yeah.
we goofed.
Yeah, that's all
So
right.
Okay,
we
no
just
problem.
booked right on top of it, so, but I will, so your preference is for 240, and that is where it's booked for the rest of this year. So one of the advantages is, book early, and so if we can book in, if in December, we can book for the first 6 months or the, even the whole year next year, that helps. But then as an alternative, if I can't get 240, you would prefer 155, is that correct?
is that across the hallway?
Yes, that's the assembly conference
But
room.
That works
if
for
we,
me.
if we say that, we're gonna meet the third Thursday at 1:30 every month, and make a decision and do that, and then.
It's not as easy just to understand,
Yeah.
his schedule
His schedule
changes
changes.
from term to term. He's a professor at the university.
Yeah.
He doesn't know from term to term. which
I'm the
schedule.
hang-up, yeah, I'm the hang, because,
Yeah.
my schedule goes from completely free and flexible to not, like, when I have to be at work, I have to be at work, because I got a class. right? So-
Well, we're currently scheduled for 240 for the rest of the year, so that kind of makes it a
Yeah.
moot point for the moment, right? And then coming into next year, unless we get bounced around next month, and then we'll
Well,
address it again.
or unless, for example, the chair of the assembly says, I want that room at that time.
Well, then the
So-
chair's gonna have to deal with us.
That's right.
Bernie can talk to us.
That's right.
Okay,
Well, I really
Yeah,
don't.
we're armed now.
I don't think they should have.
The hammer of justice.
To override it.
Right.
They
I
get
really
paid, we don't.
Right.
What matters more than ethics in this city? right?
Well, I think an investigation be going on about why we're losing our room. I mean, that's my.
That's actually a
I-
good
I
point.
think
I think we need to launch an investigation.
I'd like to make a motion that we
Okay, motion to
adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye?
All right, this meeting is hereby adjourned.
okay.